Hey guys, this is Matt with BleepinJeep.com. Today we're going to upgrade this early model XJ brake booster to a bigger, better brake booster. But first, check out my website, BleepinJeep.com. It's got all the best off-road videos on the internet and the boring stuff. Don't forget to check out my Facebook page. I'll leave the link down here, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, BleepinJeep. Alright, let's get started. Alright, so I believe it's 94 and earlier Cherokees has this little tiny brake booster here, and so the first step is going to be to get this larger brake booster, and what you're looking for is a 93 to 98 ZJ, which is a Grand Cherokee, or a 99 to 04 WJ, which is also a Grand Cherokee, or you can also get one off a 95 to 96 regular Cherokee, and they'll all just bolt right in with a few modifications to the back of this rod here, and we're going to have to make some modifications probably to the brake lines themselves. But the first step is to get this. I'd recommend the junkyard, or you can pick one up at your auto parts store for those Jeeps that I recommended there. So to take one of these brake boosters out, it's pretty simple. The first thing that you're going to do is crawl under the steering wheel, under the dash, and you're going to unbolt whatever is holding this pin in here. And that's off of your brake pedal. Your brake pedal actually pushes this rod in and out. And then there's going to be 4 bolts. Those are metric. I believe they're 14 millimeter, something like that. They're kind of hard to get to, so you'll need a little extension to get on there. Once you get that loose, all you have to do is undo the brake lines. Sometimes there's 2 or 3 lines coming off of here, and you're just going to unbolt those, and then you'll be able to pull this right out. And that's off the junkyard one. And now we're going to go ahead and pull the one off of the Cherokee here. So the first thing I'll do is just remove this water bottle to get good clearance around it. Okay, now that that's out of the way, I'm going to loosen the 2 lines on the master cylinder here while it's still bolted in. The hardest part about loosening these lines is trying not to round them over, because they're on there pretty good if they're factory. So what I tend to do is put a pair of vice grips on them really tight, and just crank it until it breaks, and then use the wrench to take it off the rest of the way. Alright, so these are loose. Now we're going to go under and take off the bolts from the back side so we can pull this out. Seriously, I feel like I've been raped. You definitely have to know yoga to get under there. Okay, now I should be able to disconnect these lines completely and pull it right out of here. Try not to get any brake fluid on your paint job. Alright, so now we're at a critical stage. What we need to do now is lay them side by side and compare each unit. The main important thing that you want to make sure of is to measure the distance between here and this hole. And this one, it turns out to be, what I say that was, about 125 centimeters. And if you measure this one, it turns out to be about 101 centimeters. Now, if you were to leave it like that, your brake pedal would either be pressed in or all the time, or you wouldn't be able to press it all the way down. So what you need to make sure of is that both of these rods are at the same position from the back of this flat area here. And in my case, it turns out that the ZJ one, all you have to do is take off this little spacer that they have, and then you get exactly the same length that came on the original XJ brake booster. So keep in mind that you're just trying to match the length of this booster. In some cases, you might have to add some washers here, or you could even make up a spacer like this and add on there. But what you want to do is just make sure that it matches the original one that came off of your Jeep. Now the second thing that we need to look at is on the earlier XJs there was this brake light signaler thing, whatever you want to call it. It's a switch basically, and so I'm going to have to transfer that switch over onto this rod, and it looks like it's a little different hole size, and I'm just going to take my time and try to figure that out, how to fit this onto here. The later XJs, I think maybe 92 and on, didn't have this type of brake switch. And the third thing that we want to make sure of is that we have the right brake lines to hook back up to the original proportioning valve. We're going to go ahead and get rid of this proportioning valve and just use the one that's on the Jeep. You could go ahead and use this one if you want, but in this case there's only two lines coming out, and we need three, so you'd have to have a T on here for the front brake lines. But I'm just going to use the old proportioning valve. If you have that brake switch on the earlier model Cherokee, it went right here. So what you're going to have to do is make a flat spot on this rod on the back side, and you're going to have to open up that hole just a little bit. I'll probably use an angle grinder for this, or just a grinding wheel, and then a drill bit or a Dremel tool to open up that hole, and then this will be able to fit right back in. Not sure what size that is, but it's quite a bit bigger than a 1/2 inch. And once you get that opened up, you'll get that right in there, and it'll be ready to put back in. Okay, so when you're done, it should look like this. I've opened up the hole, made a flat spot just like this one, and then your little switch is going to go here, and now you're ready to go. Alright, so now I'm taking the proportioning valve off of the newer booster, and we're going to use the old proportioning valve, and hopefully these lines here will fit up. If not, we'll have to go get some new lines that will work. Let's go take a look. Okay, so I brought everything over here to do a test fit. And I've taken the old lines off the proportioning valve and matched them up. It looks like the lines that we have are going to work well. We've got one small line and one larger line. The only problem is the old proportioning valve sat right here. The new proportioning valve sat right here, but the old one that we need to hook up to is way down there. So what we can do is bend the lines. The only problem is when I test fit this in here, it sits on top of the old proportioning valve. So either we're going to have to hook these lines up to the old valve and bring them around, or we're going to have to move the proportioning valve up further and out of the way. Alright, so since trying to move the proportioning valve in the Jeep will cause a lot more problems because of the lines that are attached to it, I'm just going to try and bend these lines down to meet. The proportioning valve in the Jeep sits about like this. So what I'm going to do is bend this line around and get it close. And then I'm going to disconnect the lines from the other side so that I can attach them to the proportioning valve before I put the brake booster in. Otherwise I wouldn't be able to get a wrench back in here to get the line on. So to do that, I'm going to use one of these little tubing benders. This is the best way to bend a line without pinching it. So I'm just going to carefully bend that around here and get it close, and then we'll move on from there. Alright, now that I've got the lines about where they need to go here, I'll use a wrench to take this side off and then bolt this side to the proportioning valve, slip this in, and reconnect these lines. Alright, now I'm just tightening up the lines on the proportioning valve here, and it's really cramped in here. So you want to make some final adjustments. You don't want to hit metal to metal like this, or it's going to rub and eventually you'll put a hole in your brake line. Also, make sure you put a big wrench on your proportioning valve here, because on the older models it's just floating in there, and you don't want to apply too much pressure to the other lines. So once I get this tight, then I'm going to make my final bends around everything, and then hopefully I can slip the booster in there. Alright, it's a really tight fit with all these wires and crap in the way here, but I finally got it in there. And the last step is just to, well, not the last step, but the next step is just to put the lines back in here in the master cylinder. When you're doing that, make sure you don't get them cross-threaded, because that's the last thing you want. So carefully put them in there and tighten them very slowly to make sure you're not cross-threading. Alright, I've got the lines connected back up. Now I need to crawl back under there and reconnect this booster from the inside. Alright, under here is 4 bolts. Don't forget to bolt the rod back on, and don't forget to connect your brake light switch back up. Yeah. Alright, I've got it bolted in there good now. Now I want to make sure to plug all my hoses back up. This is the vacuum line here. You might need to make an adjustment, but I think that'll fit on just like that. And all that's left to do now is put your water bottle back here, and you're going to fill up this with brake fluid, and make sure that you bleed the brake lines before you go anywhere. I've got a video showing you how to do that. I'll put the link right here. So that's it. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Another thing you might want to do is flush the entire brake system. You don't really know what's in that master cylinder that you got from the junkyard, so flush it all through when you bleed the brakes. Also, on the proportioning valve, if you have already upgraded to the discs in the rear, you can go ahead and take out that little washer inside the proportioning valve. If not, leave it alone. If you haven't upgraded to the disc brakes, leave that alone. So thanks for watching. Check out my website, BleepinJeep.com. It's got all the best off-road videos on YouTube, none of the boring stuff. Don't forget to check out my Facebook, and check out, subscribe right here to my Bleepin Jeep channel, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.